Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Welcome back to CBSN. A division within the Biden administration is leading the U.S. to embrace Trump-era border policies. Over the summer, the Department of Homeland Security drafted a plan to stop using a Trump-era pandemic policy known as Title 42, which expels migrant families with children. The plan was shelved when other officials voiced concerns about the spike in border arrests and the Delta variant surge. 4 people with knowledge of the infighting tell CBS News the dispute around Title 42 is part of a broader division within the Biden administration over immigration policy. So joining me now with more on this is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez. Camilo, first off, it's great to see you in studio. But secondly, what is the root cause of these divisions within the Biden administration over border policy? What are the key issues at stake?
Yes, Tanya, there are some pretty stark disagreements over the future of border policy among President Biden's own appointees who are part of his political team. We have some more enforcement-minded officials who support deterrence-focused policies, including increased deportations to try to reduce the number of migrants and asylum seekers arriving to the U.S.-Mexico border. But you also have appointees who favor policies that expand access to the asylum system and that speed up the processing of migrants and asylum seekers. In this infighting, from what we're told, has led to the slow walking, really, of the Biden administration's immigration policies. And a perfect example of this is the debate over the Title 42 expulsion policy that you mentioned. In July, the Department of Homeland Security actually crafted a detailed plan to wind down this policy for migrant families with children. The plan called for officials to provide COVID-19 vaccination to all adult members of families, and that would mitigate the public health risk of unwinding this pandemic-era policy. But the plan was scrapped, we are told, because some officials at DHS and the White House believed that it was not good timing politically for the administration to unwind this public health order, and that it could also lead to an even bigger increase in the number of asylum seekers and migrants coming to the U.S.
So it sounds like within the Biden administration's appointees in charge of border policy, you have some that are more progressive and want to have sort of a more lenient policy in place, and some that are a little bit more centrist and want to continue some of these Trump-era restrictions. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate. They all seem to agree, however, moderates and progressives alike, that the infighting has led to, quote, paralysis. One appointee told me that the administration right now is not making any progress on its own policy vision. We know that in addition to keeping the Title 42 policy in place, which was first implemented under President Trump, the administration has also seriously considered reinstating another Trump-era policy known as Remain in Mexico that requires asylum seekers to wait in northern Mexico while their cases are adjudicated by U.S. courts. They have even proposed expelling unaccompanied teenagers from the border when we saw that significant surge of unaccompanied minors heading north. And they have also proposed signing a safe third country asylum agreement with Mexico that would allow the U.S. to send asylum seekers to Mexico and have them seek asylum there instead of here in the U.S.
Well, we know that President Biden himself has indicated he is more willing to get behind a tighter border, right? He's always shown less appetite for loosening the strings at the border. So considering that, is there any resolution in sight between these two camps, the infighting in these two camps? And if so, what does that look like?
No, that's a critical question. We know that President Biden has promised to create an immigration system and an asylum system that is humane, orderly, and safe. But from everyone we spoke to, they told me that there are no signs that such a system will be put in place anytime soon. There is some agreement between the enforcement-minded officials and the more progressive ones that the ideal border policy would be one in which economic migrants who don't qualify for asylum are rapidly deported under a process known as expedited removal. But asylum seekers who need protection would be screened at campus-like processing centers and would be allowed to stay here in the U.S. while their cases are adjudicated. But there are currently no signs that that will be put in place anytime soon. And it's much harder now because of the large numbers of migrants coming to the U.S. In fiscal year 2021, Tanya, we saw U.S. border officials make more than 1.7 million arrests of migrants.
So who's running the show? Where does the buck stop when it comes to immigration policy?
The more progressive-minded appointees told me that the more enforcement-minded officials are winning out because of the concerns about the political optics of unwinding some of these Trump-era policies. They believe that if Title 42, for example, is lifted, the administration is going to come under even greater pressure from both Republicans but also moderate Democrats over border policy. And we have already seen Republican lawmakers utilize this issue as the way to attack the administration. It has accused the administration of encouraging these migrants to come here because of what they see as lax border policy. So some officials who are, from what we are told, winning out in these debates believe that the pressure will get even more intense if policies like Title 42 are rescinded.
Camilo Montoya Galvez, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here on set.
Thanks, Tanya.